We have a lot to watch for in the next 16 to 18 months. As we lead up to the election in 2024, the race for president is heating up in the heartland. Former President Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis are both set to hold events in Iowa again this week since DeSantis officially jumped into the race. Now, before DeSantis announced, an Emerson College poll of Iowa GOP caucus voters showed Mr. Trump has a massive lead in terms of who they would choose today. The former president with 62% of voters, DeSantis at 20%. Former Vice President Mike Pence and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley tied at 5%. And Niall Stanage is back from the Hill. Okay, you were just in Iowa. So were most of these candidates. What exactly is it that they're trying to do?
Well, they're trying to win those caucuses, but they're trying to do so by retail politics, by going to people in their communities, meeting them where they are, so that voters can really, see the whites of their eyes, get to know them, take the measure of their character. That has long been the case in Iowa. That's one of the things that makes the Iowa caucuses special. I would also say that for any candidate not named Donald Trump, this is a make or break moment. I mean, if you want to derail the Trump train in this primary process, you have to do so early. And Iowa, despite that massive lead you showed in the polls, presents quite a good opportunity because he actually lost. People forget this. Candidate Trump lost the Iowa caucuses in 2016 to Senator Ted Cruz.
And he had to cancel his event most recently when there were dueling events between he and Florida's governor, not yet named a potential nominee for the party. New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu, he's still deciding whether he'll run in the next week or two. Don't know if he's going to actually crack 5%. As the New York Times has put it, quote, many Republicans who want to defeat Mr. Trump are aghast at the exploding field, along with Mr. DeSantis's underwhelming performance in recent months. Is this showing that the party is fractured or that they're actually just in denial?
Well, I mean, there is a fracture in the sense that a lot of candidates are trying to portray themselves as the alternative to the former president. Now, some of them differ from him on policy, others differ from him on style. But in essence, in the Republican electorate, Donald Trump has control over quite a big slice of that pie. There are about 35% of Republicans who just won't entertain the notion of voting for anyone else. And then there are others who could go either way, and there's a small number of never Trump people. That means that the more people who get into the race, broadly speaking, the better it is for former President Trump. And that's why those people are aghast, as you noted in quoting the New York Times in that article.
Yeah, what a word to use. It's like, that's a word, that's what you came up with. Very dramatic. But the economy is going to be a huge talking point for the GOP, along with education. You just wrote a new piece for The Hill on how Ukraine is becoming one of the clearest dividing lines within the GOP field. Talk about that.
Well, because a lot of those other issues, the economy or the battle against wokeness, so-called, the Republican candidates are all on the same page. That is not the case with Ukraine. Ukraine provides one of the clearest, deepest lines of division. So on one side of the equation, you have former President Trump and, to be fair, Governor DeSantis being pretty skeptical of U.S. aid to Ukraine continuing at its current pitch and trying to seek some sort of resolution to that war, even if it's one where Ukraine has to make pretty painful sacrifices. You look at someone like former Ambassador Haley or former Vice President Pence, if he gets into the race, they take a different view. They take the view that the United States has a real vital interest here and that Ukraine has to prevail.
Niall Stanage on the Hill for us. We appreciate it as always. And enjoy your Memorial Day. I hope you get some barbecue. That's what I'm looking forward to. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.